The human family is lost within their minds, is lost to their mind, is a slave to their mind, has forgotten who they are at the expense of themselves. Welcome to this week's World Affairs Truth Report. I'm Helen Jane Rose. I'm a channel, an automatic writer, an energy healer, and an author of a number of books, including The Coming Times, which is where these World Affairs Truth Reports came from. And so they're like an extension of the book, and I've been guided to bring these weekly reports that I write automatically, and then I read them out weekly verbatim. And then my lovely partner Jed, who is a cranial sacral therapist, an acupuncturist and an energy healer, and he'll be joining me to unpack the messages, bringing his wisdom and grounding the information in a more practical way. And if you'd like to know a little bit more about us, there's an interview between the two of us on our YouTube channel, The Coming Times Unpacked. And if you prefer to read these messages, these reports, then they can be found on the comingtimes.org website. Okay, so welcome to the World Affairs Truth Report number 5. Welcome, beautiful soul, to a roller coaster of a week on the world stage. As the drama deepens and much starts to get disclosed, we urge you to remember this truth. You are a soul. You are here to remember that. If you believe this to be true, think and feel very carefully into how you choose to respond to all that you are hearing and seeing. It is one thing to be opposed to the atrocities that have been conducted against your human family. Yet your life is an experiment, if you like. Now, what do we mean by the use of the word experiment? We mean just that. Your life is an experiment, if you like. We are in no way wishing to undermine all the other aspects that make up you and the life that you are leading. But the truth is, you chose to come at this time to act as a catalyst for love. Yet it wasn't a given that you could rise above the chaos that's to come, and that you are witnessing, and still hold your unconditionally loving standpoint. This is a very hard thing to do when you are faced with such brutal behaviour that is the opposite of how love asks you to be. The experiment. Can you bring and be the higher consciousness that the world so deeply needs now? When you remember that you are a soul, you see life very differently. You are looking through a different lens. Not from an apathetic lens that others might claim, but a deep understanding of how the world really works. An understanding that the human family is lost within their minds, is lost to their minds, is a slave to their minds, has forgotten who they are at the expense of themselves. Yes, this is deep rhetoric, but it is time for the remembering to begin. Even the most indoctrinated by their mind are being called to awaken now. All will question now. All will seek solace in themselves in one way or another. All will look for something higher than themselves, even if they don't know that this is what they are doing. As looking outside themselves just won't work anymore. The age of looking for God in the external is over. Now, we are not claiming that the whole of humanity will want to look inwards to find their soul self. No. What we are claiming is that every life on earth is being given a choice to remember their true self or deny it. Many, when called inwards, will deny their own existence, that they are a soul. We are here to help those who choose to remember, those who choose to dive into the depths of themselves and discover the truth at the heart of them. You see, so much of humanity has fallen so far from grace, if you like, so far from their soul selves that they are capable of such atrocities against their own. And at the same time, the majority is so distracted from themselves, idolising the very ones who have fallen so far from themselves that they are actually choosing to align with them. They are giving their power to them, if you like. This is a complicated concept, but we honour all who have worked so hard to think for themselves, to allow themselves to feel, and to allow themselves to dive deep within themselves. You are the true change makers, the new leaders who will rise as humanity demands new role models, as many who they have worshipped for so long will be removed from the world stage. The religious idea of the rapture is underway, but not in the way it has been weaved into consciousness from a religious standpoint. I'm Helen Jane Rose, bringing you these messages and guidance from the Divine Council. And I'm now going to shuffle over and invite Jed to come and unpack this week's report.
Another wonderful report, delivered wonderfully too.
Thank you.
Yeah, a little bit more intense for me this week. So I'm guessing if I'm feeling that, then other people will too. They refer to a roller coaster of a week. So this is, I think, the third week in February, the 23rd, February 23rd, as we're recording this, 2025, that is. Is that right?
As in today's date?
Yes.
Yes, I thought you. I thought you meant when it was going to go out.
No.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yes.
We are recording this on February the 23rd.
Yes, and it will. Yes, exactly. But it will get a bit to go out in about
Yeah, so
2 weeks.
I guess every week is a bit of a roller coaster at the moment. I mean, we're being bombarded with so much, information for us to process. It's mesmerising and very difficult. It says the drama deepens and much more gets disclosed, but they urge us to, acknowledge that, become aware of it, but don't get distracted, don't get pushed out of your lane, because that's part of the goal. There's some revelations that are intended to knock you off target, and so you've got to be mindful of that too, as well as being aware of what's going on out there, so we can encourage change. And it's asking us to think very carefully about how we respond and react to these situations. And it's okay to oppose these atrocities. It's important to oppose these atrocities, and but at the same time, understanding there's a bigger picture going on. And the suggestion here is that we're in an experiment. Now that's quite a challenging thing to consider. And it says, they used the term, what they wanted to explain the word experiment, but for me I wasn't satisfied with their response. They said, we mean just that, it's an experiment. So I looked up what experiment meant in the dictionary. And if you take out the science aspect of it, it's a course of action tentatively taken without a known outcome. So why would that be? Why would we experiment on ourselves? Or why would be subject to? And that poses a lot of questions. Are you subject to an experiment? Are you experimenting on somebody, or is it both? Or neither? And so I think you have to go to the soul level in order to have any sort of understanding of what that means. And it brings you closer to the idea that we are the creator, and the creator is within us, because it wants to and chooses to experience all of life and wants to know its responses. So it creates us as both, the awareness and the observer and the observed. We're all of it. We are the creator, and that's what this whole thing is driving us towards. That sounds a bit far-fetched and a bit wild, but if it's not that, then you're a victim, and I'm vehemently opposed to being a victim of anything. But it's your choice. This is what the experiment is. What are you choosing? And it says, we wish in no way to undermine all other aspects that make up you and the life that you're leading. And the truth is, at this time we've come as a catalyst, and I think what that means. So we're all of the lenses of life, the colour of life. So we come in with these birth signs and characteristics, the body shape, the body size, and all of those things through which we, compose the human experience for us individually and collectively. And within those lenses, individual lenses and collective lenses, we are set up for life experiences. Again, not as a victim, but as to how you're going to respond to this. And I think early on in life, as a teenager, as an early adult, there's not a lot of history in terms of this life, so they're more knee-jerk reactions or reactions based on emotions or lack of emotional intelligence. But as you get a bit older, or you become wiser, or the more you recognize your soul self, then those reactions change, and that's the evolution, that's the expansion, and that's the expansion in consciousness. And there's a collective aspect to this as well. So we're learning as a human family that, you know, the experiment that we're in is providing opportunities at each juncture, at each opportunity, each challenge to choose love over fear, to choose peace over chaos. And the more and more the intensity of these experiences and atrocities, or whatever you want to call them, is bringing everyone into the fold to give them that choice, because there has been apathy and there has been ignorance and there has been not wanting to look at or accept our role in what's going on in the world. So the experiment, can you bring and be the higher consciousness that the world so deeply needs now? You know, are you willing to bring your soul to the fore, or do you want to, you know, just join the chaos and be angry and be justified at being angry and be justified at being judgmental, and or do you want to step out of that and start to recreate the new human experience? Because for me, the old one's spent now. We can't recreate the old way. We've got to. Well, I suppose you can, but that's, you know, that's going to be a difficult path to follow. And it says, not from an apathetic lens that others claim, but a deep understanding of how the world really works. I've seen a lot of accusations lately of spiritual bypass thrown at people that are out there as teachers. Some of it valid, but not all of it. And I'm sure some of those people that were accused of spiritual bypass, if you spoke to them individually and asked for their personal opinion, they'd be as horrified as anyone else at what's going on at the moment. But they're maintaining their path and holding their light, because some of us have to, you know, maintain that. Otherwise, how do we create a new human experience? How do we create a new earth? And it's not, I'm not avoiding situations. There are people here on the planet, you know, lawyers and whoever, you know, people that their soul journey is here to deal with the human side of these atrocities, and they will be dealt with, you know, with encouragement from the mass public that we don't want these anymore, we don't accept these, and we have to push and drive the change in a very calm but forceful way. And you have to look inside to understand and know what your truth is, what you accept, and be prepared to say no to certain things and be prepared to say yes to yourself. You know, the quiet warrior sort of perspective. You know, and also here, very damning statement that we opened with. The human family is lost within their minds, is lost to their mind, is slave to their mind, has forgotten who they are at the expense of themselves. Well, it's absolutely true. You know, but we've had to, up until now, rely on our minds for survival. It's been absolutely primal. You know that fear, fight for survival mentality. We've had to use our mind to navigate and negotiate, to combat all of those things that are very sort of base. And it's what I referred to in World Affairs 4 about the chakra system. And we're being asked now to move from that, to elevate from that solar plexus energy, sacral energy, up into the heart. And in there you'll find yourself. It's not in your mind. Your mind just basically is very annoying and causes you problems. But, you know, it's been the tail that wags the dog for such a long time that it's quite a journey to turn that around. But you have to start. You have to trust. You have to know that it's possible. And it says even the most indoctrinated by the mind are being called to awaken now. So it's the density, the depth and the expanse of what we're being faced with at the moment is bringing everyone into the fold to be horrified, to recognise that the way humanity exists at the moment is absolutely unacceptable and can't go any further. But you know, not everyone's going to do it. Not everyone's going to accept what we're saying or what other teachers are saying or what even their own heart is saying to themselves, because they're so ingrained and indoctrinated in what's going on. We have to have compassion for these people. Don't judge them. They're also part of the catalyst. They're holding an energy so that we and other people who are interested in a new way can say no to that behaviour or that way. But you know, in the process, some souls get lost, but they're not lost forever. Like we've said before, you can't ever be disconnected as an umbilical cord to source energy, and at some point, whether in this life or in another, they'll find their way back. There's a suggestion that many called inwards will deny their own existence, and that's not the existence of their human physical form. They're denying their soul energy. They're absolutely reliant on their mind, that there is nothing else. And again, you know, that's a difficult place to be. But we have to say no to their behaviour, and but also recognise that they're part of the experiment. They suggest that much of humanity has fallen from grace, so far from their soul selves that they are capable of such atrocities against their own. I wanted to expand on that to say that the humanity has fallen so far from their own grace, because the suggestion coming from grace, it feels to me like feels quite judgmental. It feels very religious in some ways, and it's like we've done something wrong. It's just that what they mean is we've fallen from the grace of our soul energy. We've lost it. We can't find it, or we deny it, or for some reason haven't been able to access it. And because of that, then, you know, things that most people would find impossible to comprehend are available to those. This classic being in the darkness. Again, we have to deal with it. We have to say no to it. We have to take action where necessary. And, you know, pray that at some point they recognise that they do have a soul. There's a reference to idolising people who've fallen from grace. It's because they use their mind so strongly that they elevate themselves into the public positions of power. And for people who feel powerless and lacking in sovereignty, that's very attractive. So whether they believe in their, let's say, spiritual beliefs or not, it is irrelevant to those people. It's very attractive. You know, exponents of control and manipulation rather than power that's designed to help. And so, you know, their followers are lost in that world and misunderstanding of what power means. You know, hopefully eventually they'll see that the power is within themselves and they'll stop looking at these idols. They say this is a complicated concept, but we honour all who have worked so hard to think for themselves, to allow themselves to feel and allow themselves to dive deep within. And we can all do that. Some have done it already, some are in the process of doing it, and a lot more will follow. And the sooner, the more will follow, the more the tipping point will arrive, or the sooner the tipping point will arrive, and we'll move into this new state of consciousness. And they refer to new leaders coming through as role models. Amen to that. Can't wait for those people. I'm lucky enough in my clinic to see lots of young people with incredible beliefs, philosophies on life. I have no fear for the future because I've seen some of these role models already. You know, when the rest of us make space for them to stand up and be heard, and reveal their ideas about how humanity should exist, then things will change very quickly, and we've got a lot to look forward to. So that's all from me for today. Truth Report, World Affairs Truth Report number 5, coming to a close. Thank you for joining us. Please like and subscribe and pass it on to your friends and
anyone that you think might benefit from hearing a different perspective.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you, Jip.
Thank you, guys. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you next week.